Welcome back to Off the Page with Keira. Happy Friday night. And tonight I was feeling into what do we do tonight? What do we do on this, right? And Friday nights, my energy shifts a lot. One, the kids don't have school on Fridays, so I don't have to do so much driving, and that takes a lot of stress off. And I work shorter days on Fridays so I can play with my kids, and then I get to play with my kids, and play always just rejuvenates me and gives me energy, and spending time with my children today was great. And I got a lot of great work done today. I got to help an author with the completion of pulling his book together. I got to meet with 3 new potential authors, which was really exciting. One of them said yes, and she's joining me at JOA as one of our authors. She's coming to an immersion in February. I'm just really excited to sit with her book. Really excited about it. And I did spend 4 hours sending emails, and that is not magical for me. But at the same time, it is magical because I'm very, very detailed with the wording and the way that I send emails, and there's like an art to it. And so even though it takes a lot of my energy because there's a lot of thoroughness, and thoroughness does not give me life, but when I know like the words are going to impact, it's worth my time. And so it has been a long time on emails today. But then I got to play with my kids, and I got to take my son out for a birthday dinner, and got to go driving with my 16-year-old and teach him how to use a gas pump for the first time, and dance in his truck for a little bit. And so these are just like good moments today, and I'm grateful to have my energy back. I always think on a Thursday, and then Friday usually starts to rise again. So I'm happy to have my energy back. But I was thinking about the story I wanted to tell tonight, because this concept of the future self just keeps showing up for me right now. And I have this beautiful story that made me believe in future selves as like actual reality, not just some concept. And it was right after I got divorced. And I remember, it was like 4 months after I got divorced, where like the adrenaline of like starting completely over, right? Like there's a lot of adrenaline in that, and it started to wear off. And the reality set in, the reality of being a single mom and running a publishing house and paying all the bills for the very first time in my life. And I was driving 3.5 hours a day, and I did that for 2 years. I drove 45 minutes to their school every morning, 45 minutes back, and then again in the afternoon, and then it was like driving them to other places. I mean, it was just like so much driving on top of all of the emotional stress, and just like it was just so much, right? And I remember it was late one night. The kids were all in bed. This is when they used to go to bed before 10. That was nice. Now I have teenagers and they do not go to bed before 10. But back in the day, 3 years ago, they actually did. And they were all in their bedrooms, and I was gathering all of the dirty clothes from the living room as they just like were melted everywhere, right? And I remember I had my arms filled with these dirty clothes, and I was walking up the stairs to our laundry room, and I was so tired. And I remember just hitting the wall out of exhaustion and just slumping to the stair, and I just am holding all these dirty clothes, and I just start bawling. And I just looked up to the heavens, and I was like, God, why did you think I could do this? Why did you think I could be a single mom and grow a publishing house? Like, why did you think I could pull this all off? And in that moment of despair, I felt a presence show up. And I felt that it was me. And I felt her take my shoulders by her hands. And I remember hearing these words. And I heard, "You will remember this day, the day that you were a single mom, building a publishing house, because you did it." And at that moment, it was like a sword cut through all of these illusions that said I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't going to be able to figure it out. And it was like a surety came in because I could feel that I had already done it. And it's so wild because right here, right now, I feel like I'm back in that spot. And why? Because I am in the next expanse. Last year, I took my company, it had hit 1 million in 2024, and last year I took it to 3 million. And that is an expanse that most people don't ever talk about. It sounds so lovely and fun, like, well, 3 million. Let me tell you, it's not, okay? Like, actually, I made way more money when I made $200,000 a year. Taking a company to 3 million, all of a sudden means you have to have a full staff of employees. And all of a sudden, like, all the money goes back into the company, and it's an intense place. And so I feel like I'm back in that place that I was 3 years ago because the expanse is so wild. And it's like, no one preps you for this. There's no entrepreneur school. There's like no one like, hey, guess what? Like, this is how it's going to be when you hit 3 million. Like, no one tells you these stories. And so I am, because maybe you're an entrepreneur and you are in the middle of this right now. And you're like, why hasn't anyone told me about this? I am. I'm saying you're not alone. And I want to tell you what God told me. 2 weeks ago, I was like driving and I'm praying to God, and God says to me, do you remember when so God speaks like conversations to me? I know that sounds crazy. That's fine. But this is what I heard. Do you remember when you had your first kid and he was in his terrible twos and you'd never experienced a terrible twos before? And so it felt like the end of the world because I didn't have any older siblings. I didn't have any friends who had kids. Like, I was the only one I knew who had children. And so I didn't know what the terrible twos were. And I just thought the world was ending. But then when I had my second kid, third kid, fourth kid, fifth kid, when the terrible twos hit, we actually just like laughed. We're like, oh yeah, terrible twos are here. Sure. We'll get through them. Right? And there's so much value on experiencing it once. And I'm driving down the road and I'm talking to God and I'm like, all right, this is an intense experience again. Like, what is happening? And I saw this vision of me with the terrible twos. And then God said, what if you could look at business like that and know that what you're in right now is just a part of entrepreneurship? And then you understand, like, this is the next expanse. This is your next glass ceiling. It's time to crack through it and just know that this is just part of it. Just like the terrible twos is part of children's growing up. And it was like, oh my gosh, what if? So then yesterday, I shared with you this idea of like being my future self to my current self, because I was like doing that for my sister, right? And so last night I sit in prayer and I'm in bed and I'm like, all right, what would my future self say right now? Like, if I could bring my future self right here, just like she showed up 3 years ago, what would she say right now? And I heard it so clear. And I heard, oh my gosh, look at that brave woman. And I just breathed that in, like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, I am so wildly brave. I actually am. The risks that I have taken, the risk of paying for a TV show last year out of pocket, my pocket, the risk of renting an island 4 times in a year, spending over $1 million to rent an island. I mean, the risks I have taken and the courage and bravery it has taken to be that woman is extraordinary. And I don't think I've seen it until I heard that last night. And so this practice of really believing that there is a future self and that the future self has already done what we are trying to do, and the future self can show us who we are. So often we see ourselves through these pinholes, these viewpoints of really our past. That's really how we see ourselves. And if we could ask for a new viewpoint, especially our future selves viewpoint, well, what we are seeing and what we are experiencing could actually shift and change in the blink of an eye. So this is your homework. Yep, I'm giving you homework tonight. And the homework is this: sit with your future self and ask them to reflect on who you are right now. And man, I am happy to have my energy back tonight. It is a wild ride over here. You never know where we're gonna go, but I am grateful that I'm doing these videos. I'm grateful to have these stories, because without them being recorded, they will just be forgotten, because there are so many of them. And tomorrow I'm going to tell you the story of when I got my first bank account. That is a good one, so stay tuned. I can feel that one percolating. All right, with that, I hope that you sit with your future self tonight, that you actually see yourself from a different viewpoint, and that you sleep well. And I will see you tomorrow night.